Hello, my name is Caitlin Powers. I'm a student at Columbia University School of Social Work. I'd like to present an op-ed on people with disabilities representation in the media, specifically from a social work perspective. So I'd like to start out by talking about social construction through the media. So much of what audiences know about and therefore care about is based on what they view in the media, whether it's images, characters, or narratives displayed on their screens. Folks see what's on screen, and their understanding of who they are or who others are, whether it's male, female, black, white, Asian, Latinx, Native American, can be shaped by this social construction that's displayed in the media. Media becomes a way for folks to construct their own social reality. So what happens to those that are represented hugely by stereotypes, if they're even represented at all? The most underrepresented group in media is people with disabilities. And when they are represented, the majority of this representation is based on stereotype narratives. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the medical model of disability in the media. According to Paul Anthony Dark, representation of disability has been cliched, stereotyped, and archetypal. He argues that the majority of disability in the media is displayed not as disability, but as impairment. This falls in line with the medical model of disability, which Shakespeare describes how this negative view solely relies on a cure or rehabilitation. This takes away the validity and character development for people with disabilities in the media if their only narrative on a show or in a film is based on how the show displays their impairment. So I'd like to talk a little bit about a specific example from the show Glee about the character Archie. So this show Glee has been praised for having a diverse cast, gender-wise, race-wise, and disability-wise. However, Archie's storyline is based in his impairment and his dreams of being able to walk. He's a character in a wheelchair. This is so problematic because this can seriously affect how a person with a disability views their own disability. If this character's development is solely based on his desire to walk again, what does that say about and to those who will never get out of their chair? Another huge problem with this example is the actor that plays Archie is not disabled outside of the show. How can producers claim to have a diverse cast that includes people with disabilities if they're actually excluding actors with disabilities from playing those characters with disabilities? This falls in line directly with the social model of disability, where it's actually society that's a barrier for people with disabilities, because they did not cast an actor with disabilities. So, in a study done in 1991, Paul Hunt identified 10 stereotypes that people with disabilities are displayed as. The first being pitiable or pathetic, meaning a person with disabilities in media is only viewed as being impaired and is not given any character development. This falls in line directly with the medical model. The second is an object of curiosity or violence. Third, sinister or evil. This falls in line with the archaic thinking that the moral model displays, that people with disabilities are disabled because of sin or evil, or just solely presuming evil because of disability. Then there's the super cripple, being presented as a superhero in order to be an inspiration for non-disabled people, taking any agency away from a person with disabilities because their sole purpose is to inspire non-disabled people. 5, as atmosphere, is laughable, his or her own worst enemy, as a burden, as non-sexual, and being unable to participate in daily life. With these stereotypes being the most common narratives among people with disabilities in the media, how does one who has disabilities shape their social reality? The only representation is negative. which can be detrimental to self-esteem and other social characteristics. So this is a quote from a writer on disability. "The use of disability as character plot device, or as atmosphere is a lazy shortcut. These representations are not accurate or fair reflections of the actual experience of disabled people. Such stereotypes reinforce negative attitudes towards disabled people and ignorance about the nature of disability." So as social workers, we have a role in diminishing the negative stereotypes. There are so many ways that we can do this. We can advocate that the media display people with disabilities accurately, and instead of surrounding a character's narrative with their disability, portray disability as a part of everyday life. In alignment with the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, social workers can reorient towards rights-based practice in promoting civil, social, and political rights for people with disabilities through positive representation in the media. The UN provides resources on ways individuals can join public events and organizations to promote awareness about disability. Here is a short list among several of examples of these events and organizations. There's World Down Syndrome Day, World Autism Awareness Day, World Mental Health Day, World Sight Day, International Day of Persons with Disabilities, Inclusion Saves Lives, among so many more. The National Association of Social Workers is a great resource for all social workers to network and promote awareness about disability rights. Social workers have the opportunity to partner with public officials and other high-profile individuals who can promote change and raise awareness. Social workers can make sure that people with disabilities are at the forefront of these campaigns and their voices are promoted and valued. Social workers can work to end offensive language and work towards universal language that has been developed by people with disabilities. Social workers need to continue to follow the social model in diminishing the barriers for people with disabilities and moving away from the minority model, which discriminates against, in order to have equal access to roles in the media and jobs in the media. I'd like to end with this chart that research was done on representation in Hollywood films, and the portrayals of disability are disconcerting in these films. This was done in 2016, and it was found that only 2.4% of all speaking characters were depicted with a disability. Of those disabilities, 61% were physical, 37% were mental, and 18% were communicative. Another huge issue with representation of people with disabilities in the media is lack of diversity. As you can see, 81% were males with a disability and 19% were females with disability. What this chart doesn't show is that there's a severe lack of racial diversity as well. Most people in the media who are people with disabilities are white. So I'd like to end by just saying that as social workers, we have a responsibility to our clients with disabilities in promoting their voices and continuing to fight for positive and accurate representation in the media. Thank you so much.